That was scary. You guys okay? So we're here in a park, somewhat urban park. There's a basketball game and a couple baseball games going on. It's a beautiful day, and I have no complaints whatsoever to talk about some simple common modifications people do to their motorcycles before adventure or overland traveling. I'll do a separate video, I think, later on adventure versus overland traveling, because frankly I get those confused sometimes. So in this video I'm not going to be talking about bash plates or hand guards or things like that, because that's if you're doing crazy off-road stuff. These are simple, normal things that you should do to any motorcycle you're about to take on a long trip somewhere. So the first of these things is spare cables. That looks scary with sunglasses on. Oof, I can't see without them though, it's so bright. More and more modern motorcycles are doing without cables and doing everything by wire. If that's the case, well, then you don't need to worry about spare cables. But if you do still use cables, and I think most motorcycles are still using them for at least clutch, and throttle, then having those cables along with are good. That way, if a cable breaks, you have a spare available. A broken cable can be rather trip-ending. I know many people manage to bodge their way around it, at least temporarily, but the cables aren't usually that expensive compared to other things people will spend on their motorcycles before they start traveling. So there's no real reason not to get some spare cables. And once you have the spare cables, next time you're doing some maintenance or have parts off your bike, run those cables through your frame. Attach them in place with zip ties. That way they're already kind of there and ready to go. So when you have a cable snap while you're on the road, it's just simply a matter of reconnecting the new cable on both ends, and the adjustments you need to do, and you're all set. It is important to remember that once you have these spare cables in place, you want to regularly lube them, since they'll be exposed to the weather just like your other cables are, and can get all gummed up and stuck just like anything else. If you are feeling particularly creative and can find them, you can put caps over the ends of them to kind of seal the end of the cable, to protect the ends of the cable. I used to do that for a while, and then I kind of stopped. Haven't really noticed any difference in the lifespan of the spare cables. I do break a cable from time to time, so it's not like a cable sits on my bike for decades without being replaced. I have cables in place for my throttle and my clutch. I used to have one for the front brake as well, but it was getting caught up in the front tire spokes, so that cable I carry separately. That way, if I breaks, I can replace it. It just has to be run through. Fortunately, because my bike is pretty simple, running the front brake cable through isn't that big of a deal. Now, I know people who do adventure riding or dual sport riding have lever protectors that go around the end of the handlebars to theoretically protect the levers from being bent or damaged in case of falls or crashing into trees. Excuse me. But that's still not a guarantee of preventing lever damage. And again, levers are even cheaper than cables, so there's no real reason not to carry spares. Depending upon your make and model of motorcycle, you might actually need one spare, as the levers are basically the same, just inverted versions of themselves. Or you may need one for each side. I carry one for each side just because I like redundancy. But my levers are basically the same and could go on either handlebar if needed. There are also a lot of motorcycles where you can't put those handlebar lever protectors on, either because they're touring bikes or they have bar end weights or other features that prevent them from comfortably fitting lever protection. For those bikes, obviously you still want to do traveling, and you still want to have spare levers along with, just in case you need one. Brakes and clutching is important. I know people say don't touch the front brake, but I don't think it's actually good advice. I think front braking is good. You should do that when you need to stop. It's important. The last of the things that I want to talk about are spare tire repair things. I know all kinds of motorcyclists who travel around without any means of dealing with a spare tire, just hope AAA or blind luck will save them, or they only travel with other riders so that in the case of a flat they can send the other rider to go and get help or carry their tire off somewhere to be repaired or replaced. It just amazes me that people still do that. Tire repair kits, especially for tubeless tires, are super easy to carry, super easy to use. A lot of them now are just application tools. You just sort of like a gun, stick it, compressor to blow the tire up, and you're all set. However, having said that, and that you should carry those if you have a tubeless tire, I think you should also still carry inner tubes. My motorcycle still uses tube tires, so I'm stuck carrying inner tubes no matter what. Um, I don't like them to take up space inside my luggage. I don't have very big luggage, and I don't like to fill it up with things. And because I want to have those tubes with me even when I'm not carrying my luggage or the rest of my gear, I carry those attached to my windshield mounts on top of my spare levers and just held in place with electrical tape. Electrical tape is good because it doesn't cause the rubber to break down, and it's somewhat water resistant, and it's super easy to peel off when you need to. I also carry a set of levers and a tire compressor, even when I'm just riding around like today, not coming on the road for weeks or anything until next week anyway. Just sort of hanging out in town, because flat tires can happen anywhere and I want to be able to deal with one even when I'm in town and could theoretically call for a tow truck or somebody to get me home. You have AAA, but even AAA isn't free. I always get worried about calling them too much, and I'd be like, I'm sorry, Mr. Payne, but you call us too much and we don't want to help you anymore. That would be awkward, and I'd feel bad. You should carry a tube for your tire even if you're using tubeless tires, because it's possible, especially for you dual sport adventure off-roady guys, to so damage a tubeless tire that those little gummy plugs aren't going to get your tire to hold air very long. For those circumstances, you are going to want a set of tire irons and a compressor to reinflate your tire. I use compressors instead of those CO canisters because a compressor is something I'm never going to run out of. The CO canisters, you can only carry so many of them, and there's no guarantee you'll be able to get more depending on where you are in the world when you run out. Now, if you are using tubeless tires and you have to reseat a bead, you need those CO canisters. But if you just have a flat or a low tire and you're using a tube to reinflate it and your bead isn't broken, then you can just use a compressor to reinflate the tire, and that'll work just fine. And that way you can save your CO canisters. So while those tubeless tires sound great, like carry less stuff, they last longer, the truth of the matter is, to be able to guarantee a tire repair while overland traveling, they actually require a lot more stuff, which makes me feel slightly better when one of my tubeless tire riding friends gets a flat tire, fixes it in 5 minutes and is back on the road, where when I get a flat tire on the side of the road on my tube bike, I'm there for a couple of hours pulling a tube out and either replacing or patching it. A little better, just a little better. Actually, the truth of the matter is, if they're traveling with me, they probably just have the plug kit and hope that I'll get them running again if things go wrong. So I think that's all for today. I have got some events coming up. I'll be at Horizons Unlimited in Virginia. That's the last weekend of April. And then 2 weeks later, I will be at Overland Expo West in Flagstaff, Arizona. These are 2017 dates, since things put on the internet last forever. I'm hoping this video is posted before then. I know it's been a long time since I posted videos, and for that I apologize, but it's been winter here in the upper Midwest, and I stayed here this winter with my wonderful wife, so that kind of slowed down my being outside shooting videos thing. I tried to shoot some videos inside, but frankly I didn't like it. So now that the weather's nice and I'm moving back out of the motorcycle for a chunk of the summer, you'll be seeing more videos from me. I almost promise. So be safe out there and watch out for squirrels.